short second. We thank you for bearing with us and our sound things. We have a room full of people. Let's everybody in the room give a shout out. So I feel like I'm on Groundhog's Day. So if you didn't hear, I'm Lisa. Several years ago, I hit a wall with my health. I was super sick, bedridden most of the time, could barely even walk. My husband used to drag me out of the house and we'd try and walk around the block together. But I was just so very sick, ended up being diagnosed with a couple of autoimmune diseases, went through all medical treatments, all kinds of things, wasn't getting much better. I found a program, an herbal holistic program through a company called Soul Naturals, and worked with an herbalist. And within 3 months, I started to feel radically different. And now today, fast forward, I am active, thriving. I run in races. I did a triathlon. I just did a half marathon. My running coach is here and several of my running friends. And so all that to say is we have some exciting things to talk to you about today. And I just wanted to introduce myself before we jump on with Rachel. And if you guys have questions, we have somebody monitoring your questions. So just chat them in. Don't unmute, please, because we just got too much going on with everything going on. But chat them in your questions and we will get to them as soon as we can while we're sharing. And then something else I wanted to bring up is, are you a medical doctor?
Sure not.
I am not either. So we say that because you might have medical related questions that come up as you hear us share. We're not medical doctors. We don't diagnose. We don't cure diseases. We don't treat diseases. We don't prescribe anything. So we just share because we have literally worked with hundreds of people and see results. And so that's why we share, because we care. And we work, like I said, we work with a company that we're going to talk about in a little bit with holistic based herbs and programs that give the body plant dense nutrition. So it gives the body what it needs. So then the body is able to assimilate those herbs and then come into balance. When the body's balanced, we were created to be in balance, then symptoms go away. So we're not treating symptoms. In just real briefly, in the medical community, not opposed to medicine at all. As you heard in my story, I've gone through a lot of medical things. They treat symptoms. You know, you take a blood test, you see the blood results, and then they're going to say, well, you need XYZ for what shows up on this blood work. And so that is, you're going to get a medication more than likely to suppress a symptom. It's not necessarily healing the body, it's suppressing those symptoms. Kind of what we're going to be talking about today is holistic treatment. So it's holistic in that the herbs that we take and talk about give the body what it needs, so the body's actually able to do what it was designed and created to do and come into healing and balance, and then those symptoms go away. So if you ask medical-based questions, we're probably not going to be able to answer those. We can answer out of what we do know. And so I just wanted to go over that. If you have questions, go ahead and chat them in. And now this beautiful woman here, who I just love so much, we've known each other for years and years, and I love for people to hear her story because it is so powerful. And I said that in something that I wrote, but truly you are an overcomer. If you looked up in the dictionary overcomer, it would have a picture of your face. So
I'm already starting to cry. This is ridiculous. What happens?
So I'm just going to let Rachel share her story with you because it's just so powerful, and you guys are going to love just her story. And our desire is it brings you hope and opens your mind to ideas. So
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that. You are too. I think that's what's drawn most people to, trying Soul Naturals is, we've all gone through our own challenges. Some have been horrible. Some have been something a lot of people can relate to, but we all we needed hope, and we found something that really worked. And so I know I've told my story many times. Some of you might have heard it. Some of you might not have heard it. But I feel that it's so important to be open and honest with the things that we go through, because then we can show people that there is hope, that there are answers. Sometimes we just have to try different things to figure out what those answers are. And, you know, we have to sometimes fail many times to get to that point. So I will start, and I'll try not to go forever. I was raised with natural health. I've always believed in it. Our grandma, my sister's here, Rebecca, shout out. Okay. Anyways, our grandma was an herbalist for probably about 50 years, maybe longer. And so we were raised knowing that there were alternatives. But it wasn't something that really mattered to me until I went through my own traumas. I do feel that I have struggled with depression as long as I can think or feel. I do believe there were some things genetically passed on. But when you have genetically things passed on and then you're in an environment that is the opposite of healing, let's just say, then it compounds into something really big. So I ended up trying to turn to things, as long as I could think, to numb out, to make things better. I ended up getting married at 15, thinking that was going to rescue me from a really bad situation. That didn't work. Then at 16, I ended up pregnant, and this is when everything changed in my life. So I was in a car accident. I was 6 months pregnant, and I was ejected out, and the truck rolled over my lower body. So this was the beginning of years and years and years of misery, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. They told me that I wouldn't make it because I'd lost so much blood. I was out in the middle of nowhere. Then they said that, my baby wasn't going to make it. Sadly, of course, with the trauma, there's no way she could survive. So I had to deliver, which was horribly traumatic. It doesn't matter how many times I tell this, but it's a beautiful ending, and that's what I'm here to share. So with that came, they told me I wouldn't be able to walk again, and I wouldn't be able to have kids. And so I've always been the type of person that, like, I don't care what you tell me. I will not believe you. And this has caused some problems for me in life, but I am a bit of a rebel. I admit it. It serves me well in some situations, not so much in others, but we're all working on balance. Anyways, that's what Soul Naturals is about, is balance. So it led me on a journey of trying to find a way to survive, because I remember just laying in that hospital bed. I couldn't move. I couldn't do things normal people can do, if you know what I mean. It was a very humiliating but humbling experience. It taught me a lot of beautiful things that I would have never learned if I hadn't gone through it. But what happened was, over time, because I was in so much physical pain, but my emotional, mental pain was the worst. I was a kid. I was so traumatized. I had a pretty bad home life, a lot of trauma. And here I am in a situation where I don't even know how to cope. I don't know what to do. How am I going to get through this? And in time, I ended up addicted to my pain medication, which many people are realizing what an epidemic this is. This is a huge problem. And for me, I didn't know how to deal with it. I just wanted everything to go away. I wanted to get that visual out of my head of that baby. I wanted to just make everything go away. And so when I was taking these medications, to me, it was an answer to a prayer, but it ended up being an absolute nightmare, because I couldn't stop. And considering I was in a very spiritual background, I come from a spiritual background, so I didn't understand addiction. I felt that it was about willpower. I already had a hard time thinking I was the biggest piece of trash on the planet as it was. So now let's throw in addiction and feeling like a complete failure. And so that created a whole other monster. You know, I had gotten through a lot of things in my life. You know, I survived that accident. I learned to walk again. And I ended up having 2 girls, which I just said. But, and now I can't get over this. Like, I can't stop. Like, if I love my kids enough, if I love God enough, what's wrong with me? And so it got to the point where I overdosed and in a pool and almost died and drowned. And from there, instead of getting help, I had a doctor come in because they knew I was very broken physically. I'd gone through a lot. They look at my x-rays and doctors would throw pills at me. You know, I knew I was going to end up dead eventually, because every time I'd go get my pills, I thought, oh my gosh, I pray that I made it to the next day, because I knew I wasn't going to make it much longer, but I didn't know what to do. So from there, the doctor was like, well, there's, 2 things. There's dependency and there's addiction. And she said this in front of my family, and I'm mortified. I'm humiliated. Like, I can't believe I'm in this situation. And she's like, which one are you? Dependent, where you physically need it? Or are you addicted, where you physically need it and you also need it psychologically, and you would steal it from your neighbor's cupboard if you could? Which one are you? Well, you think I'm going to say I'm addicted? Are you crazy? So I lied and I said dependent. So from there, she sent me to another pain clinic, which they are drug pushers. I'm sure there's good ones out there, but those are few and far between. So eventually it got to the point where I knew I was going to die. So I just decided I was going to go get professional help. Fast forward 5 rehabs later, I understand that, you wonder why people are in and out. Well, for one, there's a lot of imbalances. I learned a lot through going to rehab 5 times. You see people who are all so broken. You see some people that had wonderful lives. They had wonderful childhoods. They had everything. And then you see ones who were abused and witnessed horrible things, and horrible things were done to them. But they're all dealing with something similar. And so it's very interesting. So because I'm in the natural health field, I would listen to people talk. I would listen to the things they would say. And, they have multiple diagnoses, ADHD, depression, schizophrenia, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, all these things. And everybody's just trying to make themselves feel normal. Like, that's the thing I got from it. Like, I drew so close to so many people when I was there, because I just saw how human we all are. And we tend to just judge people and throw them away like they don't matter, and everyone matters. And so I realized there's something with the brain, and they're all on massive medication. So this isn't like they're on multiple medications, but they're still relapsing the second they leave rehab. Practically, very few people can stay clean and sober. It's a very small amount. So I knew there was something nutritionally that was missing. I could just tell. I could tell there's something with the brain and the nervous system, but what was going to help? So, but here I am, I'm trying to fix everyone else. I literally would smuggle herbs to people. I'm not kidding, because they made me put it behind a glass like it was drugs. So I would smuggle 5-HTP to the guy who had PTSD behind me. Like, he served in the military and he had really bad PTSD. And I'd be like, yeah, I'd take some, I'd smuggle it. I mean, how weird is that? But anyways, I don't know. I don't think I've ever shared that. I don't know. That's awesome. I like, it was an illegal thing. I'm like, take it, So here I've always tried to fix everyone, but here I am like a dang mess. I can't fix myself, but here, take this. But so before I went into my 5th rehab, it became alcohol was my problem, because you're just trying to numb yourself. You're trying to just make everything okay. And alcohol is a depressant. So if you have depression, that's the last thing you should do, is alcohol. It made me suicidal. I was self-harming. It got to the point where I knew I was going to die from probably suicide if I didn't get help. And I'm like, I can't leave my kids for 30 days. I remember telling my sister, I can't go again. I'm not one of those people that goes 5 times. And it's like, okay, it's okay if you are that person. That means you're alive and you can still keep trying. And she's like, you're going to end up dead if you don't go. I'm like, okay. So she found a place for me. But see, this is the thing. It was a bubble, you guys. Like, it gives you time. It gets you away from the environment and the situation. And I'm not knocking it, because it's wonderful. It's great, because you do learn tools, but it's so much bigger than that. It has to do with our brains, our nervous systems, our physical condition, that this affects this and this affects this. So I realized, like, I don't know what I'm going to do anymore. So I came out of my 5th rehab. Yeah, I got sober for a little bit, but the problems were still the same. My imbalances were still the same. I've always known there was a connection to blood sugar issues with alcoholics. Every time I go to AA meetings, like they're eating sugar up the wazoo and, you know, and they're gaining 30 pounds and all of this because they're turning to sugar now because they don't have the alcohol. So I always knew there was a connection to that also. But I tried everything under the sun. You know, the doctors said I'd be severely crippled by the time I was 30 because of my injuries. I tried everything. My grandma had a wellness center in Palm Springs area for so long, and she had shelves and shelves full of, you know, different supplements, and people would say, try this, give her this. And sometimes things would help me for a little bit, but then I would go downhill again. I was on medications, you know, I mean, we aren't knocking anything that helps us. Like, we do what we have to do. But for me, I felt terrible on medication. Like, I felt like I had no emotion. I had no drive. I felt flatlined. And I'm a very passionate, enthusiastic person. And I was just like, so that sucked. So yeah, you don't want to be sad, but you also want to have life. You know, you want to feel good and live. And so for me, medication just wasn't the route I wanted to take, but I also tried natural and it just didn't do enough for me. And so when I came out of my 5th rehab, I was in horrible shape. I mean, my physical state was really bad. I have degenerative arthritis through my whole body. I was feeling like maybe what the doctors were saying was happening, even though I was past 30, but I was getting scared and my depression was horrible. I was craving alcohol horribly. And I just was like, I don't think I can do this anymore. I really felt like because I'd had so much fight for so long. And I just, you know, you get to that point where you feel like you don't have any hope left. And that's where I was, you know, and they say right before you are about to give up, a miracle happens. And that's what happened with me. And for me, prayer is my lifeline. And I prayed and I just said, I don't have anything left to fight this. I don't know what to do. I've tried everything. And that week, I found Soul Naturals. Shoot. Okay. I walked into my grandma's store and Greg Halliday, who is the founder of Soul, come on, seriously, this is irritating me. Well, it's been 9 years. So my whole life has changed in so many ways. And I've been able to help so many people. So all those people I wanted to fix and help, like, I found tools to do it. And that's the best gift of all. But Greg Halliday was sitting at the table with my grandma. I walked in. I was going after hours because I didn't want to talk to anyone. Oh, thank you. My sister got me tissue. She's so good. And water. Thank you. I'll have a sip. And I remember seeing him, and he was with another company before, and that's how I knew him. And I was like, oh, great. He's trying to sell my grandma something because people always try to get her to carry stuff in her store. And I was like, oh, God, you know, what is he doing? But Greg was such a great guy. I knew he wasn't like that, but I was just not in a good place anyways. And I just remember going, oh, boy. And he's telling my grandma about this company he started, and his motivation was his wife because she suffered from depression for so long, and he was always searching for something to help her. And he showed us the little packets, you know, those of you who know, you know, about it, they're little packets of drinks. And I tasted it and I was like, okay, it's not gross. That's cool. You know, I was just so unimpressed. I was just like, whatever. It's just like anything else. Because also one of the products is called Soulflex, and that is really good for pain and inflammation. So I looked at the ingredients and I'm thinking, I've tried stuff. I've tried this. It didn't work, but whatever. Okay. And I'm not thinking this is anything, but yeah, here, see, I've got people everywhere just working. There you go. They're packets like this. Anyways, so he was talking about his company and I'm thinking, yeah, right, this is going to do nothing. Just like everything else, did nothing. And, but I figured I'd try it. I'd give it a shot because what do I have to lose? You know, I actually was super broke and I had to borrow the money from my grandma. And so I got the products and I did 4 things. So I'm going to tell you guys. So one of the things is Cinnamate. This is the thing that helps with blood sugar. So this right here was like pretty instant as far as my alcohol cravings. Once I got on this program, it changed everything. So this is one of them. The other one is Soul Vital. And then there's Adaptable and Soulflex PI. So those are the 4 that I did to help me with my depression, my blood sugar, my chronic pain, my arthritis, my fibromyalgia, anxiety. And what happened was something miraculous happened, because all of a sudden I felt happy. Like in 2 days, for me, it was 2 days. I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, is this real or is it placebo? Because I'm all about the power of positive thinking and creating your own reality. And that's all true, though. It's all good and true, but also with stuff I want to believe it's going to work. So it would for a week and then it doesn't. So I was so impressed, because I'm like, okay, I think this is real. I don't think it's in my head. And so I just kept taking it consistently, kept taking it. And it changed everything. It kept me sober. I, no longer felt like I needed to numb out anymore. It was the weirdest feeling I've ever felt in my life. Like, because I've always been kind of a fake positive person, just because that's how I survive my life, is put on a smile. I laugh a lot. If I laugh a lot, something's probably wrong. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. I'm human, okay? Okay. So I started that, and then my pain is getting better, and I'm just going, what is happening? I felt smarter. Like, it literally made me feel like I could conquer the world. I'm not kidding. It was amazing. And I called Greg, who's the founder, and I was like, did you put something illegal in here? Because I feel so good. I mean, obviously you don't keep feeling good from illegal things, but he's like, oh my gosh, you're crazy. And he's actually a very good friend of mine now. We have all of us are very close to the founders. They're really amazing people. So it's so crazy how things happen, because not only did it save my life, it gave me the tools to help other people. And I was a stay-at-home mom. I'm not going to go into too much of that, but I was a stay-at-home mom, completely dependent on someone else. And what I did is I shared my heart and my story. So sometimes people think, well, I couldn't do that, but look, I'm not a go-getter. I'm not an organized, business-minded person. I was just talking to my sister. I think I need therapy or something, because I need to do better. But anyways, I need to do better in a lot of areas. I'm not going to lie. Progress, not perfection. But what was the point? See, I went off track. Oh yeah. Okay. Not organized, not a business mind. There we go. Thank you, Becca. And right away, people started coming to me. I posted my story on YouTube 3 months into my program. That was so scary to do, because I'm opening up my life to people. And I know a lot of people, and people are judgy. Let's just be real, especially when it comes to stuff like this. But you would be shocked at how many people actually responded and were like, thank you so much for sharing this, because I struggle with this, or I've dealt with this, and this gives me hope. And do you think this could help me? Well, yeah, I mean, why not give it a shot? Because I think about it like, what if I had said no? Like, what if I had said, I don't want to waste the money. I don't want to borrow the money. I am broker than a joke. Why would I want to do this when I've already tried everything that's in these products? What if I had said that? But I was like, well, you know what? What if it works? If it doesn't, oh, well, who cares? But what if it does? And a whole business was built from this. And like I said, I'm not like an organized business mind, but I love people. I love them and I want to help them. And so I was open about my struggles and my story. And not everybody has the heavens opened up and boom story, but a lot of people are suffering right now. It could be depression. It could be anxiety. A lot of people are just in really bad shape, especially now more than ever. So who doesn't need to feel better? I don't know anybody. And so it doesn't matter what you know, what you don't know, just caring about people. And that might sound very lame, but it's the truth. And, I've been blessed to have so many amazing people I would have never met if it wasn't for Soul. People that are here on Zoom, people that are in this room, people that are all over the United States. And I wouldn't have been able to do what I do if it wasn't for them. My group does over 100,000 in sales a month. And I get paid commission from that, and all I did is I focus on people. I focus on helping one person at a time. I never could have imagined that I would, make a 6-figure income. Someone who barely graduated high school, was a stay-at-home mom and felt completely stupid and unworthy for anything good in her life. And so to find something like this that saved my life, but it also gave me opportunities where I don't have to trade time for money. Because see, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in sacrificing all this time to be wealthy. Like that's something I don't want to sacrifice things that matter to me, you know? So to find something like this where, you know, I have financial stability, I can do volunteer work that's important to me, I can be with the people that I love, I can do it from anywhere. You know, I'm contemplating moving out of California, actually, as we speak. And so I can do that, and I can go wherever I want to go. And I can take my business with me. And that's the beautiful thing about this. So finding this saved my life, but it also aligned with my belief system and helping people and making a difference. You know, I love the book, The Go-Giver, because it talks about creating opportunities because of giving of service, giving yourself to others without any expectation, without trying to get ahead, without trying to make money off of people, without trying to recruit. You show love and you give of yourself for the right reasons, and opportunities will be created. And that is, this company is the epitome of that. If anyone has gotten to know the founders, if you've been to events, like you see that, like at their core, they are about loving one another and being of service. And that is another thing that I just love so much about this company. I think that covers. I never know what I'm going to say. I don't do notes well. She already said, I know you don't do time restraints. I'm like, you're right. I love that part. But I think that I covered most of it.
Thank you. Thank you. And if you guys want to chat in questions you have about anything that she said, but I do have, so I have a couple questions for you. So you had said, you know, you haven't gone to like high level schooling to help people, and you're not a medical doctor. Why do you think, well, let me just share really quickly what recently happened to me. I have been the epitome of health for over 6 years now, investing in my daily health. And several months ago, I had a heart attack. And I am not the person in a million years, this room would attest, anyone that knows me that would suspect that I would have that. The reason why I say this is because I want to engage a little bit about why you think being on a program, and especially extended time, has great results no matter what, say, the diagnosis or the symptom is. But we'll get to that in 1 second. So I believe that the reason why I am here today is because I have made the investment for over 6 years in my health, and I have done all the right things. My outcome could have been completely different than it was, and I was actually recovered extremely quickly. This was my choice. I'm not telling anybody what they should do with medication, not medication. We want to make that really, really clear. It's your life, it's your outcome. But I chose to not be medicated after I left the hospital, and I chose to just continue on with what I know, with herbs, with what I know, and work with people that really know a lot about herbs, way more than Rachel and I ever want to know. But I was able within 3 months to compete in a triathlon. So that to me is not just a standalone, that is because I have made an investment. I consider this a priority, and I have stayed the course. We see people a lot of times, you know, they will do something for a month, 2 months, and then they're not feeling great anymore. And it's like, it's plant-dense nutrition. You have to continue the course. So with all that being said, why do you think? We're going to talk a little bit about a 4-month transformation program that actually wasn't even around when Rachel and I got started on our programs, but we're finding tremendous results from this particular program. But why do you think that is? Like, okay, depression, addiction, anxiety, autoimmune, you know, headaches, migraines, whatever the symptom, why do you think that is? That it doesn't matter particularly what the thing is, but people see tremendous results doing like the same program over and over again?
Well, it's really crazy because I think we're so far from where we want to be nutritionally. I mean, even if you try to eat healthy and you try to eat vegetables and things like that, we're not getting much of anything anymore. And people are breathing toxic air. The foods that people are eating, sugar is a terrible for you. You know, there's so many factors. And so people are so used to feeling bad and they just want to pop a pill and make it go away. But that, like you talked about, it quiets the symptoms. And so when your body, like I explained to people, let's say you have a headache, let's say you're in pain, your body's communicating that something's out of balance, that something is wrong. But what do we do as a society? We go get Advil or whatever, which I'm not against because I take it too sometimes, but you want to shut your body up. Your body's trying to tell you something is wrong. If your body is in pain, that means you have inflammation, right? So what are the things we're doing? Like, I'm going to give you an example because I'm not perfect and I never claim to be perfect. I mean, sometimes I get like a little too much sugar and you know what happens? I get a headache. My pain starts flaring up. And then, so what do most people do? Instead of saying, well, I'm not going to have the sugar, I'm going to stop eating all this junk and gluten and alcohol and all this stuff. What do? They just keep doing it. And then they take pills to shut their body up. So what do you think is going to happen to your body? What do you think is going to happen? Look at what we see everywhere around us. You know, cancer is at an all-time high, heart disease, all of these things, autoimmune disorders, because our bodies are crying to help them and we're ignoring them. We're shutting them up. And so that is deadly. Really, truly. And if you don't die yet, you're going to feel like you want to because you're going to be so miserable. And so what this does is it creates an environment of healing in the body so that it's just like, I've heard so many experiences. I mean, I've been doing this for 9 years. You know, I think about, for instance, like Rebecca's husband, you know, he had a glass lodged in his hand, you know, from some situation we won't talk about. But anyways, and so he gets on a program for because he's got stuff, ADD stuff and stuff. I won't go into that either. But anyways, so he's on a program and all of a sudden his glass is drawn out of his hand after how many years? Yeah, 7 or 8 years. So what's happening is the body's healing. And that's a story that he could tell someday, all his craziness. But Becca's tried to get him whipped into shape once she found Soul. So that's for another time. We'll have to interview her next time. But anyway, so they use plants, which are easy to assimilate. The body knows what to do with them. And they also use adaptogenic combinations. So adaptogens are a classification of herb that we basically call the smart herb. They go in and they find what's out of balance and they bring it into balance. So what one thing might do for you, it'll do something different for me based on my needs. So you give your body the fuel it needs that was created on this planet for a purpose. It knows what to do in the body. And so things start changing, things that maybe you got used to and didn't think a thing about, you know, like he actually got feeling in his toe once he started because he had no feeling in his toe. So these things were happening because his body was healing. And so it's really amazing what the body, we're so wonderfully made, what we're capable of doing. And emotionally and mentally, we are all going through so much. So we're so depleted. And these products balance the mind and the body. So not only is it going to help your emotions, but it's going to help you physically, and it's all connected.
Right. And I know I had said about gut health, and I know my gut was completely trashed when I was really sick, and it's just tied in. They even call it the second brain. You know, it's so tied into things like addictions and, you know, just mental mood and depression and anxiety and things like that. Did you see any difference? Were you having any gut things going on when you were going through any of that?
Well, I have no doubt that was disrupted, especially with my accident and being on all the medications and antibiotics. And I don't even know. I was in such a daze. I don't even know everything they gave me. But yeah, absolutely. It was definitely affected in a big way. And so all of this just creates balance to every part of your system, to your gut and everything.
Right. Well, let's see. I don't see, unless, were there questions way back? So do we have any questions in the room about anything that we said, or questions about anything in general?
Well, and I do want to address you were, you know, asking about the college degree and all of that.
Yeah.
And so I want to, make note of that, some people will hold back from doing soul because they feel like they need to know things. And, I'm not a great student, and I don't know if I'll ever be, but I am working on it. I really don't, I'm not certified in anything, actually. I don't have a degree in anything. I'm not certified in anything. And I really don't like learning a lot of stuff. I mean, if you want details, I will send you to someone else. No, but obviously I know enough, but I'm just saying, I know, well, you could probably figure out my personality type. I just like to have fun and happy. The whole sitting down and learning and taking courses, I'm not really a fan. I know, I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't say these things. But my point is, this is for everybody, because I have friends that love to do the courses and they get certified. I think it's awesome. But the beautiful thing about this is you don't have to be, I know people who said, oh, I need to learn every little thing about the herbs and this and that. I'm like, you really don't. Trust me, look at me. But I know what is going to help people. And so I listen to them, because at the end of the day, it's not about what it's how you make people feel, that saying, but it's very true. And so that is what really makes a difference. So we don't want to hold back because we think we need to know more. I do like learning. I don't mean that, but it's not my thing to really do a lot of work like that. So I just like the happy stuff and helping people. Yes.
So the question, if you couldn't hear it in the back of the room, she was asking about tumors. Has anyone had tumors that went away or changed because they were on a program? And Rachel said yes.
Yes, I have heard that. Yes, but do you have anything to say about that? Yeah. Rebecca said that Soulclear has been used, for those in Zoom world that didn't hear, that have been used for tumors in humans and animals. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like there has been. So, but
several experiences where people have had cancer surgery.
Yeah.
Right. And it's about balancing the body. The body is able to do amazing things when it's balanced, physically, emotionally balanced. And so, yeah, the testimonies are endless, honestly, just crazy things.
Mm-hmm.
A very similar program to this, one of the testimonies is a lady was on dialysis for how long? Years.
Yeah.
She was on kidney dialysis and completely got off of kidney dialysis. And that just doesn't happen. We don't hear about things like that.
And she was in her 80s.
Oh yeah, she was old. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, right. She was in her 80s, if you didn't hear that. Yes.
Why is soul different and why does it work compared to other herbs?
Oh gosh, that's a loaded question. Because like I had shared that, I took a lot of different products and some of them had the similar ingredients. The synergistic effects and the amounts, they use the whole plants also. They don't take parts of the plants. They make sure the active ingredients are there. They've done a lot of research on adaptogens and how much, they don't skimp on anything. It made me think about when they first formulated, I believe it was the Cinnamate, if I'm not mistaken. And actually it was the drinks, and they were formulating them, and they're so potent. The herbs are so potent that they couldn't get it to taste good. It was so disgusting, because if you know what, if you've ever tasted an adaptogen, like they're gross, like bitter, nasty, right? So anyway, so they're trying to figure out how to make this palatable because you know how people are, they're babies. Come on, like seriously, I've been in the health field. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but like I've been in the health field and I would eat dirt. I've drank the most nastiest stuff you could ever imagine, but I'll do it because I want to feel better. But a lot of people aren't like that. So you have to get this to be, tastier. And so they were like, well, you need to change your formula then, so it's not so bad tasting. And they're like, we can't, because we have to have the potency. Like, this isn't just some fad thing. This isn't just about making money. Like, it has to work. So they were like, we're sorry, we'll go get a different, formulator, but we can't change our formula because it has to be effective. And if we take out anything or lessen the, the active amounts or the potency, it's not going to be the same. Well, they ended up finding someone that would, and that's where you get this. So, I know some people might say, oh, the stevia is too sweet, or, whatever. I mean, the Vital's too sweet because they put stevia, but these taste amazing for how potent they are, and so all I can say too is the more you learn about what they go through in the processes for their products and their combinations and why they choose the herbs that they do, there's a real science behind it and why they combine these things, because they work synergistically together. And all I know is it was like so powerful. Just 4 things I did, it changed my life. So whatever they're doing it right. And once you learn about it, and there is information on the process they go through and the quality control, and what people don't understand is there's a lot of fillers, a lot of things in products you don't realize, and they can say it's this and they barely have any of it in there. So you got to have trust in the company that you're purchasing from. One with integrity. And so, I mean, I would not have been able to build this business if this stuff didn't work, because I am not what's the word that's not, and yeah, I'm not a salesman, but I'm not a BSer either. You can, whatever, I don't know another word for it. I really don't. But like, so if it didn't, because I'm not going to share something if it's not really going to help you. So this company is really growing. They've been around for, I think it's about 10 years now. And the products really, they sell themselves. I mean, they do. And like I said, I'm not a salesperson, but you don't have to be to do this. You just have to care about people and help them. And that's it. I said too much.
And I mean, just to note, I got one other question, and just a note on that, I was, like I said, when for the autoimmune stuff, I had gone medical doctor. I went holistic medical doctors on tons and tons of herbs, and I found the same thing. I was taking buckets of herbs, and it wasn't making a big difference. So there is a difference, definitely. Just because it says it's the same on the back, it doesn't necessarily mean it. Janice, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. I just wanted to just get your feedback or any information that you guys may have in regards to hormones, the imbalancing of hormones. I know as we get older, things change a little bit, but I think I'm just starting to see that even the younger generation are starting to still experience some of those type of things. Is that something that we're missing in our diet? Is that something that those products?
So the question is regarding hormones and balancing hormones. And I have things I can speak
Go
about.
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I said enough. Right. So there's a lot of explanation as to why we get into this place. That would take longer, because I promised them I'd be about 45 minutes. So how we get there, it really doesn't matter. It matters when we're there, what we're going to do about it. And there's all kinds of evidence and plastics and things in our environment and that are causing all the disruptions and hormones and out of balance. So there's a lot you can do cleaning up your environment, the toxins and things going on in your environment, the colognes we use, the makeup we use, it all affects us as hormone disruptors. Yes, these programs were this program, if you guys, whoever invited you on Zoom or invited you in the room, if you're not familiar with the 4-month transformation program, you can ask for more information with that when we get off the call. I'm not going to get a lot into the details, but there is a process to it. That's what's important. The first month, it's about balancing the body. The second month is really targeted towards improving gut health. The third month is detoxifying. We don't do that right in the beginning because we need to build a little health. A lot of people jump right on detox, and it sends them into a tremendously sick state because they're not ready for that. And then the fourth month is all about assimilation and building up nutrition. So I had horrendous hormones. I mean, like I had that underlying rage going on, like, don't say the wrong thing because I might take your head off. And so it was bad, but I tried to keep a lid on it most of the time. I tried to have this, like she said, we put a smile on our face and we don't have the best attitude, but underneath I'm like, I'm just going to take you out. And that's just like what season of life I was premenopausal. I had all the autoimmune stuff going on. I was wrecked. And I didn't notice that shift until one day. It wasn't like, oh, a light switch went on and I'm so happy and my hormones are balanced. But I was gathering leaves in the yard and I went to dump them in the thing and it hit the trash can and the leaves went everywhere. And typically my response to that would have been kicking the bucket and chucking a thing up in the air. And I was out of control. My hormones were out of control. And so I noticed immediately, like I was down picking up the leaves off the ground and I was normal. What's going on here? What is going on? And so, yes, but it took time. It's not like, oh, overnight it was a light switch. It takes time to balance the body. And so you kind of have to be dedicated to stick with the program. And then the shifts begin to happen. But yes, and I'm just one story. There's a million stories out there. Young women that are having menstrual problems, menopausal women being crazy.
Women getting pregnant that couldn't.
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Getting pregnant and staying pregnant.
Yeah.
People are laughing at me. Okay, so we're gonna wrap it up. Yes, do you have a question? Okay, we have one more question. Anxiety. Yeah, it's all tied in. It's all tied in. It's like we in our society, we're trained since kids. We have a thing. We go to the doctor, they tell us something and we do that or we don't do that. And so we're trained like anxiety. Okay, this is what you're going to take for anxiety. Sorry, you guys can't see what I just did, but we're going to have one thing and we're going to treat it with one thing. And the body is so unique and designed that everything functions together. We can't separate our mind from our gut, from our left toe, like that gut feeling back in it. And so once the body starts to go into balance, then those things, the anxiety goes away, the depression goes away, the symptoms go away. And this, especially these products, because they are designed to balance the mind and the body simultaneously. That's the part of the president she was talking about. His wife was clinically depressed, in and out of the hospital depressed. And that's his heart and passion behind every single product, is that they do balance the mind and the body. So then those things go away.
Yeah. So on that note, responding to the one who asked about what makes them different, that's a big factor. You can't separate the two. They're all connected. So that's a biggie, mind-body connection. And every product has something that balances the mind and the body.
They just published that case study on the anxiety with college students using Renew.
Oh, yeah.
Within 15 to 30 minutes of these
Yeah.
had a result.
So they just said there's a case study with one of the products that they get with college students with high anxiety because they're in school and going through all this stuff. But there again, I still say it's like it's not one thing, because that still is like, oh, that one thing is doing one thing. Because what I've just seen and worked with, it's being on a program. But yeah, there are case studies with the products as well. So Zoom, I assume that you don't have any more questions because I don't see any more. Stay connected with us. We would like to do these periodically and interview different people and be able to help our community. So if you have questions, make sure you connect with the person that invited you to this. And thank you so much for joining us.
Bye, everyone.